Hello everyone and welcome to F.Y.I. Uxbridge. I'm your host Barry Giles, station manager here at Uxbridge Community Television. F.Y.I. Uxbridge, is a program about the people, places, and events that are happening here in Uxbridge. And today's guest is a returning guest, a continuing returning guest, is the town manager, Sette.
Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for joining me. And today we're going to be talking about Springtown meeting and going over the Springtown meeting warrant. So, Steve, let's talk about, first off, there's a little change in the plans. Mm-hmm. We have a change in the date and location for the Springtown meeting.
Right. Again, COVID is driving the changes similar to what we had at the Fall Town meeting, which actually turned out to be in December. But similarly, we've decided to move this meeting outside. Mm-hmm. So the meeting's going to be held now, instead of Tuesday the 11th, it's going to be held on Saturday, May 15th at 2 p.m. at the McCluskey School. Same location where we had the Fall Town meeting. Okay. We will have a tent. Tent probably this time will be more to shield the two blow-up screens that we're going to have, so everyone can see what they'll be voting on in the warrant articles. So mostly we'll be protecting that, so people will be able to see it from wherever they sit. People sit out on the grass in the outfield of the ball field. So if people can bring lawn chairs, wherever they're comfortable in. We'll also have folding chairs, etc. For people to sit on. We'll be able to space out, quite nicely at the meeting, and hopefully we have a nice day to hold hopefully. If it rains, the rain date will be the following Saturday, same time at McCluskey as well. But keeping our fingers crossed. That right now it looks like it's going to be a mid-60s and a cloudy kind of day. So I think we should be okay. Great.
Sounds like a perfect day. Not too hot, not too
cold. Right.
Great. All right, let's dive right into it. Let's talk about the town warrant, which will soon be available for people to view on the town website. I
hope to have it up there this afternoon.
Okay. So we're talking, this is May 5th, right? Right. Today. Yep. So, okay.
Cinco de Mayo.
That's right. Yep. Cinco de Mayo. Yesterday was May the 4th be with you. So.
Exactly.
All right. So why don't you, we'll start right off.
Sure. This is a 24-article warrant, a little bit smaller than, say, what we're used to for a Springtown meeting. Some of that is because, similar to what we've done in the past, we pushed a lot of the capital articles to October. Reason for that is, at that point, we probably will have free cash certified from this past year, so that money will be available for capital projects. And it just kind of seems to flow a lot better when we do it along those lines. Mm-hmm. We hold that. Any major zoning articles we'll hold till October as well. That way they get their full, the full amount of information get out on those, and people can have the opportunity to really digest them before they vote. So, like I said, it's a 24 article warrant. Right now, we're going to pass over 4 articles. The passover articles are going to be Article 2, Article 10, 15, and 24. Article 24 is a citizen's petition, and the petitioner voluntarily asked that it be withdrawn. Out of the remaining 20 articles, Article 23, right now appears to be a non-binding vote at town meeting. And that vote is more because it's to change the name from selectmen to select board, but that's a charter revision that needs to occur, and the charter review committee will take that up as an item to be considered as a charter change.
Right now they're in the process of reviewing the charter.
They are.
Correct?
Yeah, they're going to do a report actually under Article 1. Okay. They will do a report at town meeting. So now we have 19 articles left. There's 2, Articles 7 and 8, having to do with the wastewater enterprise fund budget and the water enterprise fund budget that the Finance Committee voted unfavorably on because of they required a transfer from retained earnings to supplement the budget. What has happened subsequently, and I'll get into this a little bit as we get into the budget, is the federal government has released money for the ARPA funds. That's what they're being called. It's the American Rescue Protection Act. And those funds will be, those funds we're able to use on water and sewer infrastructure projects. So the accountant and I have looked at the budget. We found a couple of areas where we can use that. And by doing that, we were able to allow that the sewer enterprise fund no longer needs to have retained earnings transferred, and the water enterprise fund has a small amount of retained earnings that still need to be transferred, but they may also be able to be covered by these ARPA funds. But I want to make sure of that prior to town meeting, that can be done. And if that's the case, I'm going to ask that the finance committee schedule a meeting, even if it's the night of the town meeting, and if they would reconsider their unfavorable vote. If that's the case, then all of the remaining articles will have a favorable, unanimously favorable response, both from the Board of Selectmen and from the Finance Committee,
Great.
and where needed from the Planning Board as well. So we're all in agreement that where we are with the warrant, we're in agreement where we are with the budget as well. I'll give you some highlights of that in a second.
Sure.
But all in all, I think this is a very solid warrant, and a warrant that, if we have any controversy, if you want to call it controversy at all, will be towards the end of the warrant, where we're talking about a change in the number of marijuana retail establishments. And that's just to increase the number from 3 to 6. And that's really all preference, really, on people's part if they want to do that. But the rest of the article is pretty straightforward. As I said at the beginning, Article 1, that's just a report of committees. That's where the Charter Review Committee will do their update, and that'll where I'll do an overview of the budget and in a short kind of state of the town type thing, so people know where we are. Articles 4 and 5 were transfers from retained earnings for both the sewer and water enterprise. Similar to the questions we had in 7 and 8 on these two, the Finance Committee voted favorably to allow that because this budget this year was built with those numbers in there. I think the issue is more that Finance Committee believes that the retained earnings should be used for capital projects versus being used to supplement the budget. The issues as to why the budgets were needed, these retained earnings, is because of COVID and the concern that the Board of Selectmen have. People don't know the Board of Selectmen are the water and sewer commissioners in the town, and because of the concern they had, they decided to lower what the recommended rate increases would be in the sewer department, especially. The recommendation was for a 10% increase over the next 2 years. They cut that back to 5% increase over the next 2 years. So that had some earnings. They fell short on some of the revenue that the sewer enterprise would bring in. As a result, you need to use retained earnings to supplement the budget. But that was all part of the vote when that happened. And there's just some disagreement as to where, what should be used. Fortunately, as I said, the ARPA money is available that we're able to plug some gaps going forward. So at least for this year, and perhaps even the next year, unless new rate hearings are held to reset rates, that's going to be an issue. The water enterprise was similar because they voted a 0% increase over the next 3 years for water. So now we need to look at that budget again. So might be some expenses we need to cut, but I believe we'll be able to get there. So then we get to Article 6, that's the town budget. And just by way of overview, the fiscal 22 budget's built on a number of assumptions, the most important of which is that we believe residents want the same high level of service that we currently provide. Includes strong schools, comprehensive public safety, full-service public works, and extensive municipal services, and a robust library. The budget sustains core and town services within the revenues available. And just for a reminder, last year, what we reported was we budgeted with a 15% reduction in state aid. Now, we received 100% of the state aid, but we still kept our expenses at that 85% level. We budgeted this year based on still that 85% level. So we're still haven't gone back to where we were a couple of years ago, and we're able to maintain the rest of our municipal services as a result. We've accelerated our efforts to streamline some operations. We now have online permitting that we've added. People can pay certain bills online during the time town hall's been closed, so hopefully people have gotten used to doing those kind of things, so that would help. And then we've extended the transparency of our boards and committees with every one of our meetings, every public body meeting, obviously, as you know, being presented by the Zoom platform.
Right.
We're also dedicated to the prudent financial management to maintain a solid foundation that builds on our successes that we achieved as we move forward in 21. Town's in a very strong position financially with the amount of revenue we bring in outpacing our expenses. This is due to significant growth in our commercial sector. Our growth this year is about 82%.
Wow.
Commercial versus what it's from previously has been mostly residential.
Right.
So we kind of flipped that, and I believe over the next 3 or 4 years you're going to see that continued growth going to be in that commercial sector, which is good for a couple of reasons. Most importantly, I guess too, is no reserves are utilized to supplement the budget. So there's been no transfers from free cash into the budget. We have enough money in the revenues that we generate to be able to do that. And the other thing too, and I hope this is important to people, is that I did not include the 2.5% increase to the levy that's allowed by Proposition 2.5, and that's going to save taxpayers $800,000 because that's what that 2.5% represents on our budget right now. We're anticipating a tax rate reduction for the 3rd consecutive year. And fingers crossed, we predict that the tax rate will break the $15 threshold. Some be somewhere in the 1480s. And if we decide to consider moving to a split tax rate, which puts a little bit more of a burden on the commercial, versus on the residential, we might be able to get that closer to 14. And if that's the case, we might have the lowest tax rate in Worcester County.
Wow.
I think right now Northbridge does, and I think we're going to be close to that tax rate. So,
Great.
all in all, a very strong picture. And at the end of the day, with the budget that we're presenting, the budget is a 1.98% increase budget. State funding is at 100% of fiscal 21 levels, and as I said, we did not take the 2.5%. All that included in, all those things considered, and there's 4 new firefighters built into the budget, 3 new police officers. So we're making an investment in public safety, and we still have about a $2.5 million surplus that we're not touching.
Right.
So I think we did some, really solid, really strong budgeting. We've also effectively spent the CARES monies provided by the federal government for all our COVID expenses. We renegotiate our employee health benefit. We're going to save somewhere in the neighborhood of $600,000 by doing that. Now, that's more of a tribute to our employees because we have a very healthy population of employees, so our experience, our claims experience is good. So that's why the companies that bid on our business this year are very aggressive.
Great.
And we don't anticipate now that jumping up, over the next couple of years. We have a fairly steady growth, so we'll still be within this savings line,
Great.
On a regular basis going forward. So all in all, some good things. So I think it's a very solid budget, and I think one that people will be, be happy with.
Good.
We mentioned Article 7 and 8 and how we're going to change and hopefully have those budgets approved as well. And again, what we're doing is within the federal guidelines as to how to use that money. So I don't want people to think that we're playing a game here with the money. It's in the verbiage in the federal bill that infrastructure improvements using this money is available, and that's about $4.1 million we're getting that we can use over the next 3 years. So if we do the same things we did with the CARES money, we'll be able to stretch that money, and do a number of good things. You know, still COVID related, but
Right.
you know, for the people in the town.
Great.
Article 9 is
Highly very important.
very important.
Very important.
Very important, and that's to fund PEG access in our television enterprise budget. And obviously, you guys do a great job with the budget you get, and it's, you know, I'm glad that we're able to keep that funding where it is. We talked about Article 10 being passed over. Now, Article 11 is interesting because it says rescind authorized unissued debt. And what this is, the accounting and the treasurer's department went back and looked at debt that people have authorized from previous town meetings, and said, is there debt that we haven't spent? And if there is, why are we keeping it on the books? Now, it's not money we borrowed. It's just the authorization if we had to borrow that money. And there was about $1.3 million that in various lines that were approved at previous town meetings that we decided that we don't need to borrow it. So let's get it off, which down the road increases our ability to borrow money by that amount of money. There's no plans for that right now, but at least there's, if we needed to, we're improving our position by doing that. Hopefully at another, maybe this time next year, have another rate discussion with our bond, our rating agencies. And if we do, hopefully that'll tick us up on our rating as well.
Great.
We'll be in a strong position for that. Care and condition of town roads. I know this is probably one that I'm sure everybody will be in favor of. 2 years ago, the town made a decision to take $400,000 right off the top of monies that are appropriated, and that we would increase that amount by 10% each year to go towards taking care of our roads. So this year, that amount is $484,000. Add that to what we have, what we get for Chapter 90, and Department of Public Works has about $1 million to do road work. They do have some plans. There's been other grants that we received. There's other MassDOT programs that are going on right along Route 122 right now, and then down South Main Street, you'll see some additional work being done, and hopefully around the 146 interchange, you know, with a MassWorks grant, which will kick in next year.
Great.
Our per rate appropriation is Article 14 for Central Mass Regional Planning. We do use them quite a bit for a lot of projects. It's about $4,000, and it's $4,000 that is well spent every year. And they're a great agency to work with on a lot of things. Article 15 is a Passover. Article 16, this is where we now start and get into some non-financial type things.
Sure.
So Article 16 is a lease agreement with Uxbridge Youth Soccer. And currently up on Sutton Street, if anybody's driven by there, anybody has kids who play, you can see that we have a soccer complex up there. And the Soccer Association would like to make another investment through the league to create more field space. A couple of reasons. They're going to create 2 under-14 fields, which are larger fields for the kids to play on. But at the same time, if they do that, that'll reduce their reliance on the fields at McCluskey, so that field hockey and other sports that also are competing for fields will be able to use them. So what they're asking for here is a lease, an extended lease from the town that allows them to make their investment, know that that investment is going to be something that'll go for a long period of time. They're also looking at doing some other work with irrigation. I know there's a plan to share a well with the community gardens. Right now there's water, I believe, being trucked up there for the gardens and for them to use for irrigation. So this at least will solve that problem. I believe they have the well and the well digging donated, which is nice. So this is going to be to run the, but they still need to make that investment in running the power line and doing some other things. So this is really, basically the town saying, we think that, all that they've done for the kids in town and all the kids that play, we want to see that go on for a period of time. And it's a great organization to work with, and they've been, real good,
Yeah, it's a great benefit to the community in general.
Right.
And so,
And you think of how many kids probably have come through that league and either gone on to play in high school, maybe
school.
play in college.
Yep.
So it got them potentially a college scholarship and some other things. There's a lot of good work going on there.
great.
So we're happy to work with them. Article 17 is a grant of easements for the purpose of establishing a bike path. Everybody knows the Blackstone Heritage Corridor currently has a bike path that I guess ends right now in Blackstone, and they're looking to extend that, through the town of Uxbridge, so it can connect again as to go up 146, eventually ending in Worcester. So right now, what they're asking on for this article is to have the town allow the town manager or the board of selectmen to negotiate with them on easements over currently town-owned property.
Right.
Okay, so there's in the trail or the path that they want to take, it's going to follow sewer easements that are in town. Right now, there's 6 properties that they would cross over that the town owns. So basically, what this is saying is, yes, we would work with them when there's a firm plan in place to allow the bike path to go through over those easements and how all that would work. So that's what we're asking for town meeting approval on. I believe they've been in.
Yes, we actually did an F.Y.I. program a few weeks ago, last week, which is airing now, so the community can see the program, get more information about what exactly they were looking to do and so on.
Right, you probably see the map.
The map, right, correct.
Where
We
they're
included
going.
the map and so on.
Right.
And once again, we did touch base on this particular article, and they explained it very well and what exactly it is that the article will do. For this, it's not, we're not seeking any money or funding or anything from the town. They're just looking for the easement, allowed to negotiate the easements with the town.
And I think for them, if there's a commitment on the town's part, then when they have to go out and secure the private easements, I think it helps them with that as well. So that's what this article will be for. Article 18 this is a cleanup article. I guess 2019, the town made some changes in some of our zoning bylaw with respect to allowing marijuana establishments and treatment centers. The Attorney General approved the article, but found that there's a couple things. Actually, the town clerk found there's a couple things that are still in conflict. On one article, we talk about having no maximum. One part of the article, no maximum, but the very next paragraph contradicts the first one. So what we're doing is this is just cleanup. So it's going to simply explain this. You'll see example A, and there's a part A, part B under that. That's going to be replaced with under example B, part A, part B. Very simple. It's just a cleanup of the language.
Great.
And that's what we're asking people to do. And obviously it was favorable from all parties that had to review it. Article 19, this creates a whole new new type of license. There's marijuana delivery licenses, and the best way that maybe I can explain this, it's almost like, you get Uber Eats. Right. Well, it'll be similar to that. Right. But to be able to deliver cannabis products, but only to, there's a very strict restrictions that they have to follow as to how they'd be able to do that. And actually in the vehicles and all that they have as well. So it's not, it's like that, but it's not like that. Right. It's like the Uber Eats, but not like Uber Eats.
Yeah, it's very restricted and governed to make sure that it's security and safety, and that it's not just randomly showing up at somebody's door.
And not knowing who they're delivering to and all those kind of things. So there's a lot more restrictions. But what this is just adding one paragraph, and it's in the warrant. It's it's an underlined paragraph. And that will go into where the bylaw is. So in section 400-23, that's where the change will be. And then you'll also see in the use table, they'll be just adding in the use table one word, delivery. Right. And then across the line, where it's currently allowed, delivery will be allowed. So that's the only changes. And, sometimes you see a lot of words and people get intimidated by the amount of words, but it's just a very simple, add in underlined, and that's it. Great. That's the only change. The next one is to change the Article 20. I'm sorry, Article. Yes.
20.
Article 20 is to amend the section of the zoning bylaw which establishes the maximum number of retail marijuana establishments. Currently, that number is at 3. There was some discussion as to why we would want to do this. Again, I think early on, when this was first looked at, I think people had the idea that, if you get too many of these places, it's going to dilute the sales and so forth. Well, what's found and what the industry has found is that just because you've been in one dispensary doesn't mean you've been in all of them.
Right.
They're all different. They all have different products, other than certain packaged products which come from, just a handful of people right now. But a lot of the other product is unique to those stores. So right now we have 3 licenses. We're looking to expand it to 6. What surprised me was during the discussion with Finance Committee and in other places, a lot of people were considering saying we should have an unlimited number and let the market determine what how that should all shake out. But I think as a gradual step to go from 3 to 6, because the licensing part of this through the Cannabis Control Commission is also a fairly lengthy process.
Yes.
So just because we would double the number of stores we have doesn't necessarily mean that, a month after town meeting, 3 more stores are going to
Exactly. They're just going to pop right up.
Right. They still have a number of things that they need to go through to do this. So that's what that article is asking, just to go from 3 to 6.
Now, this is very similar to liquor license in town, too. We have a limited amount of liquor licenses that are allowed.
Well, liquor's regulated, though, a lot of times regulated by census.
Okay.
But these right now are not.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's this whole category of when the state voted to allow adult use, retail adult use of cannabis. They basically said to the towns, okay, we're going to let you handle it. If you want any of these type of establishments, it's really up to you. You work your host community agreements, and you do that, and then they'll come through the Cannabis Control Commission for licensing. But you really control what you want. How many? If you only want a limited number, you set that number. Different than what they did out in states out west like Colorado and places where this has kind of been an industry for quite a period of time. So by doing that, a town like Uxbridge now is a town that people who want to get into this industry we get calls every day from people who either are looking to be a manufacturer, a cultivator, and now more and more coming in for retail. But again, we're limited the number on retail, but we have an unlimited number on the other ends. So we're starting to see, a lot of buildings that had been unused, or underutilized, if you want to call it that, now are beginning to have tenants because they're becoming grow facilities. You don't need a large canopy space to be a grower. And then on the flip side, you also have some of the facilities like a Cultivate out in the business park that have 300,000 square feet. And we're also starting to see some outdoor type things happening. So the cannabis business is changing in the Commonwealth, but even in the town of Uxbridge. And so I mean, a lot of discussion on impact fees and all that stuff, which could be a whole show.
Whole different.
Yeah, we could do that at another time. But I think at the bottom line right now is we've embraced the industry. As time goes on, we learn more and more about it and how it operates and what it is. And right now it's we're compatible. And we're working well together. So this might change that. Yeah. At the end of the day, it is a good thing. It's kind of funny if you would have said 10 years ago, how many of these businesses be around, people would have said no way.
No way.
But I would really challenge anybody to say, to even know it's hard to determine that this is what this type business is. So all that concern is I guess people don't have anymore.
Great.
So Article 21, that's a citizen's petition. It's the rezoning of Summerfield at Taft Hill. They'll present that. Very simply, it's, there's out of the 45 acres, I believe, it makes up Taft Hill. Only a small portion of it was, actually I think it's more than that. It's 45 acres that's still agricultural. And what they built on was residential.
Right.
What the folks that live there are asking is that town meeting approve a rezoning so that the entire parcel is now going to be residential. And that would give them, if they want to expand that 55 and older
Right.
housing, they can do that. Article 22, citizens petition. We've seen this on before, and it's accept Tucker Hill Road as a public way. All the requirements that the developer needed to meet and the things that may have presented this from moving forward in the past have all now been completed. And again, unanimous approval
Great.
from the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, and the Finance Committee. We talked about what Article 23 would be is probably a non-binding vote, but at least it'll give an idea of where people would want to go to be more inclusionary, with the term select board versus selectmen.
Sure.
And then lastly, Article 24 is going to be passed over.
Great. That will do the whole warrant. That's excellent. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of good news, a lot of positive things definitely coming out of this this budget process and so on. It was, once again, I've been here 17 years and have done budgets every year. This one, actually, since your leadership, we, have developed that new process of starting zero budget and work your way up the budget, which is it kind of makes us think more, a little harder on how we run our departments and how we can kind of stretch the dollar as much as we can.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all your help and everything else that you've given us to develop such a great warrant.
Well, what I would encourage is, for all your viewers, is to go back and look at some of the Finance Committee public hearings, if they haven't done it already, to get an idea, because even though we've got the process down, there are a lot of questions, a lot of, I don't want to say scrutiny, because that's not the right word, but there were a lot of deep dive questions as to how we arrived at certain numbers. And the planning board's philosophy is that what they don't want to see is, well, just because a number's been there every year, it remains there. Right. And I agree with that. I think we need to look at, are we spending our money, and it's actually spending the taxpayers' money, as efficiently as we can. And the fact that we haven't taken, let me rephrase that. We haven't used all the money available to us through taxation, and we're looking at doing certain other things that would make the town a much stronger, a better place, for people. Because I hear the complaints all the time about roads and all that, and trying to get all these things in place so that we have a plan, a schedule to get these things done, and to be able to do it with as minimal impact to the taxpayers as possible, I think is what the goal is. And I think what the Finance Committee does, what all our departments do with their budgets and how they manage their budgets, what the finance team's doing, looking at, can we refinance certain things to save more money for the town and those kind of things. I think in the last two budgets, working with the finance team, there's been over $1 million that we've saved the taxpayers. So those are the little things you don't see, because all you see is a document with a bunch of numbers. But behind the scenes on that, there's a lot of people really working hard for the town of Uxbridge. And so, while I might be the one that's presenting this and might be here with you, there's a lot of other people that really deserve all the credit on this because of the hard work they've done.
Great.
So,
excellent. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
just hopefully we'll see a quorum of people. We need 50. The governor's office still allows us to have, we can reduce the quorum. The Board of Selectmen can reduce the quorum, but they haven't chose to do that. So it's still 50 as our number. I know 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon in May, when there's graduations and everything else going on, might be difficult.
Baseball games, soccer games.
There's a lot going on. So hopefully, we'll have people come out, and even if it's the people who feel that we have, that things are going well, and they wanted to see that continue.
Right.
That's what we need, is to have people come out to give that vote and move it forward. If there's not a lot of questions, the process can move, fairly quickly. We have the clicker voting, so it makes
Electronic
it easy.
voting makes it a lot easier.
Makes it a lot easier. You don't have to raise your hand and be counted all the time. But I think there's a lot of things that, and the fact that we're going to be outside, I think that makes it a little bit unique.
Yes.
In having town meeting, but versus the last time we did this when it was 15 degrees.
Yes, it was.
We can have if we have a nice day in May, it'll be great. So
Right.
We'll look forward to seeing everybody.
Excellent. All right, Steve, thank you very much again
Thanks,
for
Barry, once
attending the
again.
show. As a reminder, spring annual town meeting will be Saturday, May 15th at 2 p.m. Rain date, May 22nd, at the McCluskey School on 62 Capron Street in Uxbridge. Please come out and help support the town with your vote. And if you have any questions, I'm sure we could reach out to the town manager's office. You can go to the town website at uxbridge-ma.gov for any email addresses. Also, if you know anybody that's interested in being on the show, or you want to promote a topic that's happening here in town, you can go to the town website and get my email also on their cable access television, and we could schedule that anytime. So once again, thank you for watching.